Greetings, students, and welcome to another fun-filled day here at
Horror in the Halls.
What's up, kids, and welcome to Horror in the Halls. I'm Jenny, aka Mrs. Hill.
And I'm Bob, aka Mr. Holland.
And this month's lesson plan is Summer Camp, Jenny Deadfuls edition.
Dun, dun, dun.
So listen up, kids. The Lake Never Forgets. We are reviewing Natasha Preston's novel, The Lake.
Man, I wish I could forget.
Yes, same. But before we do all that, let me just give you the brief stuff that I found on the author, which wasn't a whole lot. So I just kind of copied and pasted from Penguin House. But she is a New York Times best-selling author of The Cellar, The Cabin, Awake, You Will Be Mine, The Lost, and The Twin, and obviously The Lake. So she's also written The Fear, and her latest is The Island. She's a UK native. She discovered her love of writing when she shared her story online. I think it was on Wattpad or Wattpad. I don't know how.
Yeah, Wattpad.
Wattpad. Because that's what it says on one of the fronts of the books, I believe. So I'm thinking that's where she started. I'm not 100% because I couldn't find anywhere else that she had mentioned that other than it said that she shared her story online. She enjoys writing romance, thrillers, and gritty YA, and the occasional serial killer. She's mainly a YA author is what I found, because when you go into any bookstore and you go to the YA section, literally all of those books I just mentioned are all there, and they're constantly flying off the shelves. So these are really super geared towards younger females. So, and it shows in this one. For sure. And I'll get to that when we start talking about it and then going through the rubric and everything. You can find her on Instagram at author Natasha Preston. She has actually pretty decent reviews. She got a 4.4 on Amazon. This book, The Lake, 3.43 on Goodreads, where I unfortunately gave this book a 1 star. If I could have given it less, I would have. And a 4 on Barnes & Noble. So I'm not going to go into like characters and stuff yet, but like I particularly did not like this book, and I have multiple reasons why. But I think if you are starting out as a young adult, like very young, I'm not even talking about adult at this point, maybe really. It's more like when you first venture into the YA section because you're too old for the middle grade section. These are a good starting point for girls who like true crime and thrillers and stuff like that. That's who this is geared towards. Not towards an adult at all.
It feels like she wanted to go to like, because the characters are like, what, 18, 19, 20? But this is more of like a 13, 14, 15-year-old read.
Yeah, it's geared. I feel like it's geared towards more of that age group, yes.
100%.
But it's a good starting point. I do really like YA literature because I like the fast-paced, movement of the book, and, a lot of times the characters are a little bit more relatable. In this instance, not so much.
No.
So, but yeah, that's where I'm at. But I'm not going to give too much away yet, so I'm going to let you talk about how much you hate it.
Well, you want to do the characters first, and then we can talk about the themes and how we don't like this book. Because really, I mean, I'm just going to be up front. It's like, I think 56 chapters, I believe.
Yes, it's 56 chapters. They're really short chapters too, so.
Yeah, I mean, your average looks like they're averaging about 10 minutes long. I did the Audible book, of course. I hated that I wasted a credit on this. It made me so mad, but it was my last credit and I wasted it.
I don't think I could have gotten through this book if I hadn't listened to it.
Oh, so bad.
So
it
I
took
listened to it.
I think it took like 50 some odd chapters before anything actually happens. It's just a whole bunch of really neurotic, like, I could see where she was going. Like she was trying to build this suspense, but for me, as a person who grew up reading like suspense and horror novels, and I also really enjoy YA books. I like more of the YA fantasy than I do YA horror because I think YA horror kind of sucks because they're trying to gear it towards kids, but it's horror, and anytime horror is geared towards kids, it's usually not great. In my opinion, everybody's different, but this is just it was a build up. The characters they're terrible. You don't really like or care about any of them.
I think that was done on purpose too. Was purposeful, at least. I
Yeah,
can
but
say
you
that.
should at least need one. Like
Oh, there was one that was likable.
who? The bad guy?
Well, I will go into the characters if you would like me to.
Yeah, do it. Let's get it.
Okay, so the characters that are listed are Esme, which she is the point of view that you are seeing everything through. So she's first person, which was a terrible choice. Kayla was her best friend, which is she really? I have no
I
idea.
know, right?
Ollie and Jake, who are supposed like super best friends, and you don't really find that out until like the end. Rebecca, who I thought was more likable because of how her character played out. I almost would have liked to have had this book written in a different perspective because I would have liked to have a little bit more of Rebecca's point of view, or like just seeing Rebecca's movements a little bit more. I liked her the best.
Yeah. Yeah, I think she's
Cora,
much better.
there's Cora. So before I like go into all the rest of the characters. So these characters are called CITs, which is counselors in training. So that would be Esme, Kayla, Ollie, and Jake, and then Rebecca. And then you have, and Tia. Tia's one of them too. And then, but you don't really hear or see much of Tia, just a little bit. Then you have Cora, who is the actual camp counselor that's in charge of Esme and Kayla, and training them, and like, being like over them and their girls that they're in
Yeah.
charge of. And then you have, I think his name was Anthony. I wrote Anthony down and it doesn't sound right. Was it Anthony?
I don't remember.
I don't remember either. That's terrible. But he's actually like he's in charge of the camp basically. There's others, but I'm not mentioning them
Oh, you
because
talking
they're
about the
not in
guy
it.
that's in charge of the whole camp?
Yeah,
That's Andy.
Andy. I don't know why I was like, Anthony doesn't sound right.
Sorry, I thought
It's
you meant like
Andy.
some other dude counselor. No, yeah, it's Andy. He's the main guy.
No, anybody else that was mentioned, I just left off because you don't see them enough for them to even be warranted. I don't necessarily like having to keep up with all those characters right off the bat because literally all the characters I just mentioned were mentioned in the first few chapters, and I was like, oh my god, who's who? But sometimes you have to just roll with it. I mean, that's just where I was. But I did like Rebecca the best. I think that her character is a little bit stronger than the rest of them because her story was more fleshed out than any of the rest of them, which is weird because she wasn't the main character.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand that. I don't understand why you spent so much time explaining Rebecca. I think it's because I didn't even put Lillian on there, but Lillian is a character. She's the one in question. Like, is Lillian in coming after them for what they did as 8-year-olds, which is absurd to me.
Yeah.
That whole situation and the reasoning behind that, I was like, what in the hell is going on? I don't understand. What's happening? Okay.
Yeah.
Like, I'd have to tell the ending of it right off the bat to explain it, so I'm not going to do that yet. But yeah, the characters just they were not likable at all, and I don't think they were supposed to be. Honestly, how it ended, it sucked, but it's almost like it was deserved a little bit because they were all just so shitty. All of them were so shitty. And they were shitty to each other. Like, I'm
Yeah.
like, I hated it. I was like, why does this suck so bad?
But the two main girls were like, what, 8 or 10 or whatever? Like, were they really shitty? They were little kids.
No, they're shitty now. Not when they were kids. But they were, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's ridiculous because they were 8 years old when this.
Yeah. The whole plot of this book is trash.
Yeah, it wasn't. I think it was poorly executed.
I think it was poorly written. I mean, you're an English teacher, so you're going to know better. But it was so hard
That's what I
to
meant.
get
It's poorly
engaged with.
executed.
Yeah, it was
None of it.
so hard to engage with this book.
I think it would have been, if I was a 13-year-old reading this, I might have been a little bit more into it, maybe. I have no idea. At 13, I was reading adult fiction, so I
I
don't
know.
know if I
I'm
would have liked it much, but
about to have
it's
my
kind of hard.
13-year-old niece read it and be like, hey, tell me what you think of this book, because I thought it was trash. Erin thought it was trash, and she reads romance novels like nobody's business. And she was like, this is terrible.
Yeah.
And she loves killer stuff like you. Like, it was just wasn't, I don't know. Continue on the character, sorry. Hated it.
I don't have anything else to say on the characters. I just said I wrote down some running themes. So I had like, the main one was, what lengths will you take to protect yourself? Because I feel like everyone was out to protect themselves only, and that was it.
Yeah.
It had a lot about friendship in there, guilt, and revenge. Like, it was all based on guilt, feeling guilty about things you've done in your past, and revenge. So I'm just gonna go to the end and like explain, like, not the end, but like explain what actually happened so that it makes more sense as we move forward. So apparently, Esme and Kayla arrive at this camp because they were kind of invited to like apply to be counselors in training.
Well, they were sort of threatened, right? They had that like letter. It was like, come
Yeah,
back to camp or else, essentially.
that too, but they were also kind of invited to come. Which, if you were so hell bent on getting away from the camp, why would you go back as a counselor? I have no idea. But anyways, so apparently when they were 8 years old, they snuck out of their cabin to be part of the cool kid group. And they started a fire, like, as a like a little bonfire in the middle of the woods. But what happened is they put too many sticks on the fire, and it like caught the trees that were on, like, in this like kind of a circle. And
Yeah.
they briefly touch on this, like, briefly. But this girl, Lillian Campbell, I think it was Campbell, comes up and she's like showing them a dead deer, and they call her a weirdo and all this stuff. Well, Kayla pushes her back, like, to get away from the fire. Like, I guess because she was trying to hold them back or something. It wasn't clearly stated. But literally what happened was Lillian fell into the fire and was burned. So like 40% of her body was burned as a result. And Kayla and Esme never turned back to help her. But what you don't know is, until later, is that Ollie and Jake were also there as 8-year-olds, but they were in the woods for a different reason. They weren't at a camp. They were at they were camping as a family and like a group of friends. Like, their older brothers were out camping, and they got to tag along. But they were snooping around the woods, and they saw them, and then they saw what happened to Lillian, and they kind of left her. One of them left her because if you're 8 years old, you're probably going to be terrified, first of
Yeah.
all. And it said that Lillian was 10 at that time. So she was a little bit older. Everyone kind of like shunned her. She was like the weird kid or whatever. But then you find out later that she was like, well, this is all your fault. I ended up being homeless. We didn't have anywhere to live, because what she did was she didn't want her dad to find out she had snuck out of the house, and a fire happened in the woods and all that. She said, so she set her own house on fire.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's on you, bro. And so the family, I guess, didn't have insurance, is what it kind of alluded to. And then they couldn't rebuild after that. So, and then now she's like living in the woods in this weird cabin by herself, killing deer and carrying on and like harassing these four, because these four didn't help her when they were 8 years old. So I don't know if that would have made it any better, because it still seems like she probably still would have went home and set her house on fire. So
Yeah,
I
because you
don't
kind of get
really.
that she has a troubled childhood. Like, her dad kind of sucked. You kind of get that from the
Yeah.
story, but it's an afterthought. Like, the whole
Yes.
character is an afterthought, because you get Esme talking about, oh my god, it's Lillian. I know it's Lillian, but it's just childish bullshit pranks for like 48 chapters.
Yeah.
Like, if you do this, I'm gonna pop the inflatable and I will burn down the camp. I'm like, what? It was really stupid. And if you want to get revenge on these people, all of them were in the woods at the time that she was taking photos. She could have just shot them all and been done.
Yeah. Because she still shoots
13
Rebecca.
chapters in, she shoots everybody.
I know. She shot it. Well, she didn't
Except for
shoot
Esme,
Esme.
who should have got shot because she sucked. But like, she's like trying to pin it on Esme. You didn't help me, bitch. You crazy ass. It was your fault. Like, you showed up in the
Yeah.
woods and you live in town. You shouldn't have been there. One, two. You're weird and creepy trying to poke sticks at a dead deer with some 8-year-old
Right.
girls who are probably like mean girls. They're not gonna poke a stick at a deer. They're like, oh my god, get away from me, weirdo. That's just little
And
kids.
that's actually exactly what Kayla said too. Ooh, get away from me, weirdo. And was like kind of being a
Exactly, because you're
jerk.
trying to say, look at this dead deer. It's weird. Sorry. And then
Yeah, I would
what?
be like, yeah, I'm not interested.
And I guess the
Thanks.
mind of a 10-year-old, I mean, like, I have kids that age, they make ridiculous choices. But instead of being like, oh no, dad, I snuck out and got burned. Because, like, first off, no one helped you. You're burned on 40% of your body. But then you went home
No, she was
burned.
in a lake first
Oh, and cooled
and
herself
dipped
off?
her.
That's right.
She thought it would make it better, and it didn't.
Yeah, I
Well, of course, it
guarantee it
didn't make
didn't.
it better.
Made it way worse. And then you went home burned, which I've seen
It's
people with
very
burns. You're not, first off, she's not getting home. It's just not.
no. She would have died there.
She would have died there. 40% of your body, you're
Yes.
dead. It was stupid. Yeah. To catch your whole house on fire because you're scared of your dad. Okay. I mean, I get that. You know, being scared of your dad, making bad decisions based around that fear. But the premise is stupid. The writing was meh. I mean, I didn't care about any of the characters, and I know you're not supposed to, but to give me that much of a book, it's like 98% of the book is just Esme talking and being
Yes. And
afraid and not telling anybody shit. Like, there's initials carved in my desk. I'm not telling anybody.
well, I told Johnny when after I finished the book, I was like, what frustrated me is that's the reason, is the point of view. You wrote an entire book in first person, and you give me one of the worst characters to be
Yeah.
in her head the whole time. And not to mention, she's the most anxious ridden, self-involved person. I mean, Kayla's pretty bad, but she's just as bad as her. Like, she tries to like act like Kayla sucks. Well, she sucks too.
Yeah. She's
But I'm
probably
like,
worse, really, because you're like, oh my God, what do I do?
but
She's been
like
in my bed. Stupid.
being in her head the whole book was excruciating. Like, I was like, I'm glad. I don't think if I had sat down with this book and read the book that I would have gotten through it. So I was like, I started with it and I was like, I don't know about this. So then I did purchase also a credit to listen to it. And that's the only way I was going to get through it.
God, you bought it twice. That's terrible.
Yeah.
You gave this lady money
So,
twice.
well, here's the thing. I'm not going to like every book that's ever there, but I'm going to say she's on the New York bestseller list. So she's doing something right for somebody.
Yeah, I'm sure little
That's
kids.
all I'm saying. I was like, I'll give it a shot, but like I was trying to stick with the theme, the lesson plan of summer camp, and I was like, oh, cool, this one's actually about a summer camp. That's pretty neat. But it's not what I wanted it to be. It's not what I expected it to be. It
No,
was
it
kind
could
of
have been
like
a lot better. I agree. It could have been.
yeah. I think if she had wrote it in third person, omniscient maybe, I probably would have been more involved in the story a little bit better, and then I would have liked to have not known the whole story up front, because she tells the whole story pretty quickly. It's not till the very end that she tells it. Like, you get a little bit here and there, and then right maybe a little over a quarter of the way through the book, it explains all of it. And I'm like, well, now I know Rebecca's involved, because you find out, like, I was like, I think that's too easy that it's Rebecca, but I think Rebecca is involved. And it ended up being the fact that she was. So the foreshadowing was overdone because I figured stuff out before it happened. And I didn't like that. Because I knew from the very first part where Rebecca's sitting with Esme at the lake that she knew something. She knew what Esme had done. That foreshadowing was way too obvious. So that was not well executed, which I did not like. And I don't like knowing way ahead of time what's going to happen. Like, I want to be surprised. Like, when somebody can like legitimately surprise me in a movie or a book, I'm excited, because I'm like, I hate when I figure it out.
Yeah. Maybe
Because
that's
to
why
me,
she told her at the end, so you didn't know. Dun dun dun.
but I thought her death was very. I was sad that Rebecca died at the end because I was like, well, that's shitty. But she was nuts. So let me see. I felt like the kills were rushed. I mean, because like you said, it was like the last 6-ish chapters where things started going down, and then literally it was like the last 3 chapters that all the deaths happened.
Yeah.
Boom, 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 everybody's dead. I don't like the what would it be? It was like the oh, shoot. I told John I was like freaking like watching a Twilight Zone episode where it's like she's just kind of grinning at her at the end, like, I'm gonna pin all this shit on you. And she did. And so it ends with like police gun barrels in her face because it looks like she killed all her friends.
Yeah.
She's holding the gun at the end. And I'm like, oh my God. But then at the same time, I'm like, you know what? She's going to be crazy anyway. So you might as well just lock her up. So
Yeah.
just let the other little crazy run around. She'll figure it out eventually. She'll get caught. It's fine. I was like, I just didn't. When the book was over, I was like, I was on my way home from work because I started working this week, you know, professional development, all that kind of stuff. And I'm like driving home and it finishes and I'm sitting in my car in the quiet, just cussing. I'm like, this sucks. I was so mad. I was like, why does this suck so bad?
Yeah.
And then a friend of ours was like, hey, is this booking good? Oh, we both were like, no, don't do it.
I know. Oh, was it horror? I was like, no, don't waste money. So it's good. We are going to give this go through the rubric for you guys so you can know how bad it is and not spend your money on it because it's not worth anything.
And I have nothing else to say on it other than the rubric and scoring it and how low it will score. And I'm really sorry to Natasha Preston, but this is not for adults and it's really not for older YA kids either.
I'm not sorry for her. This is not a good book. Like,
it must be doing well.
No,
so
I mean, maybe her other ones are better. There's a whole lot of the titles in all her books, so that for me that's an immediate red flag. Everything's the this, the that, the this thing. No,
I think The Cellar is probably her best one. It's the first one listed. I feel like they usually list that one, but then she's got 2 new ones. I'm just saying, she's got really good reviews on this book. On those reviews I told you were all based on this book only. It wasn't for her other stuff. But I did give it a very low star because I was not a happy camper, literally. No pun intended. Sorry. Anyways.
Just like our let's get unhappy camper.
Let's go to the rubric because I can't talk about this anymore. All right. Character development. Lord mercy, I'm not even going to read this because everybody should know what character development is. It scores super low.
Yeah, because none of them were developed.
No.
And there are too many. And I do agree. If she'd have done, I would have been okay with first person. If from different characters' perspectives, that might have been cool.
Oh yeah,
like a George R. Martin kind of vibe, where one chapter is from Rebecca, or one chapter is from anyone other than Esme because Esme sucks. So that'd have been cool. But yeah, I'm thinking like I think low on that.
It would have been cool to just title it The Killer or The Stalker or something, and have done a point of view from their point of view. I think it would have been a little bit more creepy.
Maybe you should
because
rewrite this book and just change the character names. He'll be a bestseller. We'll call that The Killer at a Lake. And her name.
Maybe I should write a horror book about a camp. Because apparently we couldn't find any.
And your killer's name is Jillian. And the main girl's name is Emily and Kara.
Or Renesmee. I'm sorry.
Just go with a full name. Esmeralda burned a child with a curling iron at camp when she was 8. Stupid.
So dumb. Okay. Anyways. So I'm under the rubric part where it's like author does not clearly describe characters in detail. Author does not clearly develop characters over the course of the text, and characters are not well balanced and show growth or lack thereof and to suit the needs of the piece.
Yeah, that last one is what kills it. Because I mean, you do get some development through the backstory, and they're friends, but it's so minimal. This is like sub 5 for me. I'm thinking like 3, 4.
Yeah, I am too.
Because this is not great. You want to go with like a 3?
Yeah, that's fine. That's
Okay.
perfectly fine with me. I'm telling you, score's really low.
Oh,
I'm
as
not.
it should, because there's, like you said, there's too many, and they try to have some like gay romance. She tries to hit all the check boxes,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
then
She
you
was
never
trying
really
to.
get that again
Yeah, she
until
was
they
trying to
die.
be inclusive,
Yeah,
but it was very very minimally talked about.
it was
It was just
also
like, oh, Tia
obviously
likes girls.
intentional. Yeah, it was obviously intentional.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna try real hard to be inclusive, so little gay
It
girls
would
read
have
my
been
book.
better off if Ollie and Jake were in a relationship and Kayla got her hopes deflated. That would
Well,
have
that would
been
have been
so funny.
hilarious. Because Kaylee was kind of a jerk. I'm just in love with Jake.
Yes.
You just met this MF at camp. I'm gonna need you to pump the brakes a little bit. Had the characters been like 15, 16, some of that would have been believable. 17,
Yeah.
18, 19-year-olds, come on, girl. Like, you're very shallow. All right. Oh, this is a good. This will be a good one. Plot development.
Okay, so it's gonna score at the bottom. So themes are not well developed and clear to the reader. Pacing of the story is not timed well and feels rushed. Okay, so it was super slow the first 50 chapters. And then
Yeah.
it was like fast forward through the last 6.
Yeah. It was like riding a roller coaster for the first time. You're climbing up that hill for what seems like
A million
forever.
years.
And then you're at the bottom the moment you blink. You're like, what the hell? I waited. I was so nervous. And then nothing happened because the ending is stupid. Like
Yes,
you said,
I was so angry.
you
I
know,
cussed all the way home, not joking. I was
well,
like, "Son of a
like
bitch.
she tries to
Wasted
make you
all my
feel
money
like
on this."
Rebecca's involved early on. Now, had Rebecca not been involved at all, I think that would have been better, right? Because like
It would have
you
been a
are
better
right.
plot
There's
twist.
foreshadowing, and instead, I didn't know she was going to do this, and then she kills her anyway. Stupid. So yeah, this is low for me too. What do you think? English teacher.
Like a 2.
Oh shit. Okay.
The pacing was bad.
It was
The
so
pacing
bad.
was so
I'm with you.
bad, and
That should be the review. It's like a
theme
roller coaster for the first time. So much build up for nothing.
yeah, I telling you, I'm not joking, I was so mad. I was like, "I don't even really wanna talk about it."
Oh, dude, that's the first thing Aaron texted me because my wife also listened to this book. She bought it on her parents' Audible instead of logging into mine, so we paid for it twice as well. And she was like, "This book fucking sucks." That was what her thing was, and she said it's 99% of nothing, and then everything happens in the last 1%, and it's stupid. Like she was so mad,
I was too,
but I
but
was
you
like,
never know until you read it, like, you can't
"Yeah,
just assume that it's bad or assume that it's good, so
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
just
exactly."
picking it based on what it's because honestly, it sounded good
This is
from
why we
the
do this podcast,
synopsis.
guys.
Yes,
We
exactly.
throw in movies we haven't seen before. Like neither one of us have ever seen The Burning. It's a classic. We watched it. I
Yeah.
liked it. Did it need help? Yeah, but we grade them based on what we would a student. So if a kid gave
Yeah,
me this
so
book, I'd be like, "Hey, bro, I'm gonna need you to do it again. Like,
just write it just start from the beginning.
throw that shit away and start over, because this is bad." Keep your character names, I guess. I don't know. Esme is an
Oh.
interesting name, and then go start over. Keep the lake, I guess. I don't know what to tell you.
And
All right,
really, the lake had nothing to do
not
with
a
what
damn
happened other
thing. Oh my
I
god, I
like, what do you
know.
mean the lake? It should have been the woods never forget,
Yes,
not the
that
lake.
was my thoughts exactly. You called this the lake. Almost nothing happens in the lake other than like the thing getting deflated. No one gets hurt.
And you see the dolls floating with the eyes crossed out, and
Yeah,
there's 5, but only 4 had eyes crossed out. So it was like Lillian was like, "I don't know, I might kill Rebecca, I might not."
yeah, stupid.
Like, what?
And then like
So
the part
dumb.
where the thing gets deflated, I saw a flash. I was thinking, well, maybe she shot it. There was a scope or something. No, it was just cut and some tape came off. Super dumb.
Right?
I guess maybe let's go to the next category, the imagery category.
Sure. The imagery was bad.
I would think it was a little better than the plot development and the character development, though.
Yeah.
I mean, because I did get like the cabins and I did understand the lake and the woods. She described them nice. And some of the scenes where she's running and hiding, those were pretty good, I think.
I think the mess hall was probably the best described place.
And she did describe the lake well for no reason at all. Her publisher should have been
Yeah.
like, why is this called the lake? This should have been called the fire. or the woods or
I'm gonna say it's
the
probably the next tier up.
You think
It's
so?
not.
But it's at the
Yeah,
bottom
it's
of it. I would go 10 max, maybe
yes,
11 because it's not great. She gives you imagery for shit that doesn't really matter other than for the title of the book. But she does an okay job with, because again, I think she suffers, and we've already kind of said it. Everything is from Esme's description of stuff. So you're getting really bad descriptions from a neurotic teenager,
yes,
which was
yes.
a poor choice. So I think 10 max,
If
maybe even a
like
9.
I understand the dual point of view idea, but if she had written it in third person, all the imagery would have come together a lot better because you could talk about what things looked like without being in someone else's point of view.
Yeah, agreed.
It
Without
would
being
just
in
be
the
that
neurotic girl's point of view.
yeah, it's stupid. So yeah,
Mm.
10's fine.
Okay. It's as high as I'd want to get it because some of the other shit is stupid. All right. There you go. Style and conventions. Whew.
Okay, so I started reading the book, but then I switched to the Audible because I couldn't. I just knew that I wasn't going to get through this book unless someone read it to me.
Yeah.
It's just there's just certain books that I'm like, yeah, that's just not going to happen. Like I'm just not going to get through it. So, listening to it, I felt like of the language obviously is very clearly written. It's not like, but I don't think it's like a top tier or anything. I felt at times that being in Esme's point of view, I got confused as to whether she was talking to someone or just having an inner monologue. I
Yeah.
think that's where I got confused. And maybe if I had read the physical copy, I might not have been as confused at times. So I don't want to base that too much off of like her writing. I don't think I think her word choice was very minimal because it of who was whose point of view it was.
Yeah.
This
But
is
do we
going to
think
score
that
in
she
that second tier.
purposely did that, or just as a writer, her vocabulary is not strong enough to go past writing that context? Because
I
she
don't know. I haven't
never
read any of
really
her
gets,
stuff.
yeah, it's,
No.
yeah. To me, it didn't seem intentional like as much as this is what I can do.
I think it's she's in the second tier where it's like writing is clear. Sentences lack variety in structure and word choice, and then there's
Yeah.
conventional errors, like
Yeah, because there's no
not
like
necessarily.
writing errors per se,
No, it's
like
more of
grammatical
like
wise.
it's more conventional writing that
Yeah.
she's missing some aspects that I think would have made this book a lot stronger. So I maybe a 10 on this one too.
You think 10 is, you want any higher? You think 10's it?
10's it. I don't think it's strong enough. I don't know if it was intentional because it was through Esme's point of view or because I don't find Esme to be like it would be different if like she had written Esme to be more of like a bookish nerd type and then Kayla her really neurotic, goofy, wanna be popular friend
Yeah, because that's
who
like a
likes
trope at this
boys.
point. Yeah. That's like
Yeah, but
basically a
it
horror trope.
wasn't. It was more of like she's the quiet one or the more quiet one, but she's also a mean girl just like Kayla.
Yeah.
Is really what I gathered. So, yeah, I'm gonna say 10.
Okay. So yeah, that gives The Lake by Natasha Preston a whole 15.
What? Wait, we did
We did
20.
3, 2, 10, and 10. I can't add. I'm stupid. It's 25.
I was like,
Sorry,
wait.
y'all. And my brain's not
It's
turned back
okay.
on yet.
It's okay. You just missed the last one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, 15. Yeah. It's still summer break
Yeah,
for one
you
more
need to
day for
rewrite
me.
this one.
Yeah.
Someone else needs to rewrite this
I
one.
think someone named Jenny Hill should rewrite this with Jillian as the killer.
Jillian.
No one even know. And all the young adult people would be like, this is terrible. You just ripped off The Lake, which is a masterpiece, and it is not.
Yeah. Yeah, it's ripped off the lake. It's not even about the lake. It's about the woods.
Call it the pond. It's over.
The pond.
The pond remembers.
The creek.
Yeah, the crick. The crick remembers. Do it from an Appalachian camp. Like, do. The crick.
Yeah.
The crick remembers.
The crick.
Stupid. It is garbage. So yeah, guys, there you go. A big 25. Let me fix my math there. for The Lake by Natasha Preston, a book that has almost nothing to do about a lake. It does take place at a lake. It is a summer camp. It did fit the
theme,
theme
the
for the
lesson
month,
plan.
which is awesome. So yeah, there you go. There you have it. And yeah, Jenny, you want to tell them where they could find us? Unless you want to add anything else about this, but I got really nothing else to say.
Nope.
I hated it. I thought it was garbage. My wife thought it was garbage. I would tell anyone that was an adult not to read this. Even as adults who really appreciate young adult fiction, fantasy, horror. Not so much horror for me, but Jenny loves that stuff. It's just not good. I think it's very
I don't
much written
typically
for.
pick out YA horror, but I do. There has been a book before that is actually legit scary.
Yeah.
That I've read, but it was a while back. It was like more of when I was more of a young adult when I read it.
We're old adults now,
Yeah.
so.
Yes, so we're not as interested. I mean, I do like it. It's who I teach, so I try to read what they read too, but I also enjoy it, so I can't say
I wouldn't
don't.
recommend this to a high schooler. I'd be like, nah, bro.
Absolutely not.
It's too old for you. It's too young for you. Middle schooler, maybe. Like you said, I think earlier, like you're
like 8th
venturing
grade.
in. Yeah, you're trying to get in. Like my niece is 13 or about to be 13. No, she just turned 12. My son will be 13. So I'd like, hey, you might like this book because it's from that point of view that kind of, oh my God, look at me and my iPhone. Like that kind of girl. She might dig it. And maybe I will say, hey, check this book out. Because she's like trying to get into horror and stuff. And we're trying to find books she can read and, different Stephen King books that, will fit or okay.
Yeah,
like
and this one doesn't have anything in it that a kid couldn't read. Like
no,
it
there's
doesn't
no
really
weird sexual nonsense, no real violence other than gunshots at the end. But you see that crap on the news. So
yeah,
yeah,
it's nothing crazy.
Maybe I'll recommend this to a 12-year-old girl and see what she thinks.
A girl.
Yeah, because
a boy would be like, "God, I hate this.
Yeah, stupid. Because the point of view is trash, and they should have jumped around."
I told you, I cussed all the way home, and I'm not by myself.
Yeah,
I was by myself. So
this is another one there. I couldn't even finish. I had Aaron tell me the end of it just so I can know what happened, and then I listened to the last chapter because it got so daunting and ridiculous. Because I'm like, oh my God, shut up! Something needs to happen. I don't care about your
right.
Should I tell someone? Yes. This person
came into your bed. You should have told somebody when you're 8. Yeah. You should have been like, I saw a fire in the woods and there's a girl there. That would have solved all your problems.
Yes. Probably not, because old girl was crazy from the jump. Your idea was to go home and burn your house down. What? Stupid as hell.
Anymore.
Anyway, tell them they can find us, Jenny.
I will. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Horror in the Halls. You can also follow Jenny_Deadfuls on Instagram. You can email us at horrorinthehalls@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you.
Yeah, guys, reach out. We also have a Patreon. I'm going to be posting some stuff about that coming up soon. And as this is our last episode for July, we'll be starting our new month soon. So keep an eye out for that. I'll post what the lesson plan will be probably next week sometime. Oh, for sure next week sometimes, because Tuesday is August 1st. So probably Tuesday I'll post what the lesson plan is. And yeah, guys, I guess that's going to be it. We're going to get out of here. Sounds like the bell has rung. So we'll see you next time.
Bye.